This is the Healey Brothers Show.
All right, so today I'm here with Brian Balukas, General Manager of Kia, and Jason Healey, the person I'm always with. But today we're going to talk about the customer process and experience with Brian Balukas, the General Manager of the Kia store. So Jay, if you want to ask him that first question to get him going on this.
I mean, just take us through what's the typical customer journey when a customer walks in facility. I mean, you can even start with phone call or lead or something like that, but let's just start when he gets to the facility. When someone gets to the facility, how does that customer journey go?
Well, you're going to be greeted by one of two people, either somebody who's sitting in the front desk, typically Chelsea, or a sales representative. And the first thing they're going to do is bring you over to meet somebody from the management team. I think that's something that we do that's different than a lot of other dealership experiences, and it's a really important role. A really important step in the process is being able to meet the people who are in charge of the entire process right off the bat. A lot of times when you go to different dealerships, you're not going to meet that person maybe ever. They're in the back, they're the ones working the numbers and everything else. You have no idea who they are, you don't meet them. You meet them right up front. It's one of the first things you meet when you come in the door. And they quarterback the entire process for the sales team.
Yeah, I mean, it's also nice to see because now the customer knows, hey, this person's here to help me get this done, and then you feel more comfortable as a consumer.
Yeah.
I think knowing management, I mean, when you go to a restaurant, when a manager comes over, it's like night and day. It makes you feel so much more comfortable. You're ready to go. The dinner's just going to go completely smooth, and if there's any issues, the manager's there to help. So I think that's a huge part.
And a lot of times the manager's the best people to answer certain questions, especially when the questions, I mean, we're dealing with financial information, we're dealing with interest rates and all these different things that are very technical, and the management team is definitely the best one to answer those questions, and being able to get to know them right off the bat definitely makes those more intricate parts of the sales process a little bit easier to get through.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and plus they're in the management position to handle these things. This is what
they're there for a reason. Absolutely.
They're also true professionals. They've gone through the whole process already multiple times.
Yeah.
So now after that, what happens after that?
So after that, you're going to go back and sit down with a sales rep. They're going to go through what we would call an investigative process or a quick customer interview, the goal of which is to figure out what the customer's goals are, right? The salesperson's going to get that information together, again, exactly what the customer is looking to accomplish with their time, because everybody has a limited amount of time. We want to make sure we're making the most of it. They're going to take those goals back to the management team and say, listen, this is what the customer is here for. This is what they're trying to accomplish. And the management team is going to work together with the sales team to figure out how we can help the customer best accomplish what their goals are. And we find that, again, having the sales managers heavily involved in the process gets us through that in the most efficient way possible.
I mean, the most important thing here is we're setting expectations for the customer. And the customers, and we're letting them know, hey, we're going to do this for you. We just need to know up front. And you're getting to feel each other out, and the process is going to be smooth. Hey, if the customer wants to just go right to here, you're going to move that step with them. And
yeah.
It's funny. We actually just had a meeting this morning with training, and we literally just talked about this literally this morning. It's funny how the topic comes up, and now it's today. So, and when we talk about the service process, we actually had a meeting with service from an outside group that came in. So it's very weird mix how this is lining up together. So
I may have done that on purpose this morning.
Oh, did you? You read the deck so you know what to talk about? Oh, that makes sense.
It's honestly though, it's what we, a lot of people would think that if they were to sit in on a sales meeting for a car dealership, what the topics would be, you would think it's like, how are we going to sell more cars? How are we going to get people into these cars?
How are we going to make more growth?
How are we going to make more money? If you sat in one of our sales meetings, it's almost always about how can we provide the best experience? How can we make sure that we're tailoring it to what the customer is trying to accomplish? I don't know if these cameras are looking at this wall, but you got this stuff is a bit on that wall.
Yeah, we'll shoot that. We'll put that on there.
You're in the room where we do the training. You know what I mean? And these are the things that we talk about because accomplishing these sorts of things is how we're gonna sell more.
And we're asking different questions too. Like one question we talked about today is like, what do you expect out of a salesperson? They're asking the customer that. Granted, it's to break it up and it's different, but like they're trying to get the expectation from like, oh, I had a really bad experience at a store down the street, but I'm actually looking for this out of my salesperson, whether to move fast and get like whatever it is. We're asking those hard questions that the customer is really opening up, and we're meeting their expectations where it needs to be. So it's a lot different training, and it's funny how this lined up. So I guess you rigged it. So
it's somewhat on purpose, but it's also what we talk about every day anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you could pick any day of the week almost. It's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's our training at most of the stores now. It's not about numbers and how much. Yeah, you have your rah like, hey, we have to sell this many cars every now and then. But most of our training is really just try to help the customer and have the best experience possible.
Yeah.
So now after they sit down with the sales team, right? then what?
Well, then they're going to back to the manager with what those goals the customer kind of laid out, and then the management team's going to look at it and say, okay, I think you should show them this car, or we should do this, or we should have a conversation about X, Y, and Z. At that point, the process is really tailored to what the customer is trying to accomplish, and it can go a bunch of different directions, but overall, the goal then is to just tailor what the rest of the process looks like for what that customer is trying to do.
Whether they're trading a car.
They could be looking at a pre-owned car, they could be looking at a new car, they could be looking at a car that's maybe not even here in stock yet, that's on its way in. There's a lot of different directions to go from there. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we're putting them in a vehicle that best suits what their goals are for the least cost possible. That's generally what the goal is off the bat.
Okay. So now when you say management, is that back to the sales manager or is that moved to finance?
No, right to the sales manager.
Now after then they figure out their needs and their wants and what car works for them for the best price. Then what's the next step after that? Is it to the finance office or is it back to the salesperson?
Well, we're going to show them the car and go over it and all that kind of stuff. And we do what is really supposed to be done at every dealership, but just isn't.
Outside of Healey, of course.
Right. No, exactly. But this probably comes up a few questions down the road here. But I think it might be important to point out is that our sales staff here, with the exception of one person who sold cars somewhere else for 3 months, we don't hire people at this store, at least, who have any sales experience selling cars at all. So we train them to do things the way it's supposed to be done, and we make sure that it's done that way. And when I'm hiring somebody who's never sold cars before, I always like to ask them, have you bought a car from a dealership before? What was your experience like? And one of the young kids that I hired last summer, he said, well, last summer I went around my mother to buy a car. And I said, well, tell me what that experience was like, right? And he's going through what they did at the dealership and everything else. And he says, the salesperson said, oh, go take a look at this car. He gave the keys to my mother and sent her on her way to go off and drive the car by itself. She came back and he said, how do you like it? And the bar is so low, I generally think that is the experience you get at almost every single car dealership. It's crazy to think about because this is one of the biggest financial decisions a person's ever going to make is buying a car, and the salesperson doesn't even bother to go out and go over the car with them.
There's no rapport there.
Yeah, no, there's no rapport. There's no nothing. You're not educating the customer on the car. You're not giving them any sort of special experience. You're not even really showing them that you care that much. But anyway, so we pick out the right car for the customer. This is what the management team thinks. We're not always right. Sometimes we pick out the wrong car, but we show the customer the car. You're going to get a walk through our service drive. So you're going to meet the people at our service department on your way out to the car, give you an idea of what the service process looks like here. And when you walk outside, the vehicle we're going to show you is out here on the side of the dealership, what we call butterflied, which means that all the doors are open, the trunk and the hood is open, and the salesperson is going to give you a thorough walk around the entire car.
I mean, it's detailed. And also they're asking like, hey, they're asking me, hey, have you done your homework on this kind of vehicle?
Yeah.
So they can be tailored to their time too. Mm-hmm. So it's,
absolutely.
And this is like training we're preaching at all the stores because everyone's a true product specialist. So it's amazing what they retain. They know every single little thing about the car. It's actually pretty.
They have to. At least in our store, you're not allowed to show a car until you can prove to me you know everything about the vehicle. Now, sometimes they fall short, but that's the goal. Ultimately, the goal of this step of the process is just to make sure that the customer is looking at the right car. They're looking at a car that they're comfortable owning for the next, however, if they're leasing it for 3 years or if they're buying it maybe longer than that. But it's a big decision. We want to make sure it's the right car. And then they'll go out on a test drive with them and everything else. They come back and we'll confirm that, hey, this is the car that I'm ready to take home today.
Okay. So now once you confirm with that, then it's to finance?
It's back to the sales managers again.
Back to the salesman?
Well, then we have to put some numbers together.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're gonna gather a little more information from the customer at that point about it may involve credit checks and things like that, but we're gonna make sure that we're all on the same page. We'll put together what we think numbers are going to look like on that vehicle, monthly payments, or if they're paying cash for it. We'll put all that together.
And they're getting the rebates and all that stuff.
And fully transparent. Every single number's on there. All the fees, all the taxes, their down payment.
And we don't have those crazy fees like Jersey.
No, zero. You're talking motor vehicle fees and things like that. It's just basically about it. So we'll go through that with them to make sure that the numbers are on the same page. And then from there, if it's the right car, it's the right numbers, off to finance it goes.
Okay.
And then comes the fun part, the exciting part when we get that car delivered, all shined up, beautiful, lay the red carpet out for them, then it's all fun from there. We like to celebrate the buy.
Who came up with the red carpet?
What's that?
Who came up with the red carpet?
That was James.
That was James?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean now he's at Hyundai. Now you see we have the Hyundai wall inside the delivery area.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if you just want to list those off as like step one, step 2,
Sure.
step 3,
Yeah.
and just list them off quickly on what each step is.
Yeah, so step 1 is meet and greet. You're going to meet your salesperson, you're going to meet the manager. Step 2 is a quick little investigative process. We're going to figure out what the customer's goals are. Step 3 is to go outside and show them the vehicle that we think is going to be the right vehicle for them. Usually we're right, but we're going to go over that vehicle with them inside and out to make sure that we absolutely have the car that they want to take home. All right. After that, we're going to go through some numbers with them to make sure that the numbers work for them. From there, then it goes off to finance and work on getting it approved and getting them into their car.
Yeah, but then talking about certain products that protect their investment as well.
Yeah,
and, then,
yeah, yep.
and obviously every customer is different. We're tailoring this process to every single customer because it's not the world where we're like, oh, this, and this, and this. Like some people have traits, some people don't. Some people are first-time buyers, some people are credit acceptance customers. So it's all different and everything's tailored to them. But overall, they're going to get the phenomenal best customer experience at any Healey location, and especially here because these people come from the hospitality area. We train them from the bare bones to perfectly handle everyone in every situation. So
Yeah, again, I mean, not hiring people who sold cars before. For me, I'm trying to hire them from other retail environments. Maybe they worked at Best Buy, maybe they worked in a restaurant, they work in some other customer service capacity. So they're.
you and James really love the restaurant people. You guys, I feel like that's your bread and butter.
It's a high pressure environment. I worked in restaurants all throughout my teens and things like that. So I mean, I get it. I understand where they're coming from, and I think it's a if you can make it doing things like that, you'll probably have the right attitude.
Yeah, I mean, if you can take care of customers, no matter their attitude, it's like win-win. I mean, when I get good service, it's game over for me. I'm a sucker. The meal could be bad. If I get good service, I still love it. So I'm an experienced sucker.
There you go. So now, what are some common challenges that customers face during the sales process? All right, so first just name off some of the common challenges and then what Kia does like here to address them.
How do we solve the issues and what issues are we having?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to put myself in the customer's shoes and try to, because we do this every day, right? Things that might seem like a big deal to a customer are small things to us because we just deal with them every single day. So I always try to put myself in their shoes to get an understanding of what their process looks like, from their perspective. And for me, I would imagine being a customer who hasn't purchased a car in a few years, maybe it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is, there's so much information out there. You get bombarded with advertisements on TV. If you're on the computer searching for a car somewhere, every other website you look at is going to have car advertising. They're going to follow you everywhere. And there's so much information. And unfortunately, a good amount of it is almost tailored to confuse you a little bit. There's whether it be prices on this or deals on that, there's just so much out there that you can get lost in the weeds. I generally find that people who are shopping for a longer period of time online, not that you shouldn't do that, you should, but if you're shopping for a longer period online, you come in with it's information overload. And I think what we do well at Healey Brothers as a whole, I know Jay, you've been really involved in it, is
you don't have to pump my tires about the
no,
market
but I
design.
mean, making sure that you can go on to any one of our cars on our webpage and you can build a lease there for yourself, and that payment is incredibly accurate. I mean, you can get all the information about buying the car.
Taxes, fees, everything.
You can do a full credit check. You can do soft credit pulls. You can build an entire finance deal for your car, build a lease deal for the car. The amount of phone calls that I still get, because if you call into Healey Brothers and have a question about a car, they push you right over to a manager as well. With something that we do, it's a little bit different as well. But you can get a manager on the phone pretty quickly if you have questions about car financing and everything else. But the questions I get a lot of times are, hey, what does a lease payment look like on this car? This is from somebody who's already on our webpage trying to build it because they're so used to it not being accurate or it being some sort of gimmick. Like, no, that's the real number.
Because we had a bad rap back in the day, like the advertising, $199.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was probably they would always base it off of like perfect
so
grids.
we market what the lease payment is, and then once you get to our website, it tells you that there's the lease payment, then you calculate your taxes, and then we list, you can go to anywhere where it says all the fees and all that stuff right in there, breaks it all down, whether it's our main group site or our main website. So that's also, like you said, that's probably a big concern of customers. They come in here almost with too much information. They're not sure. They're asking different things. Different cars are advertised. They're hearing a lot of times, dealers are marketing so much, they're hearing another dealer say something else, but they're also coming in here too. So
pretty much that challenge is pretty much like they're almost confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest fear, I would imagine the biggest fear for a customer is making a mistake. Again, they're not going out and buying a cheeseburger, right? This is a big deal. for the average person.
Second largest purchase in someone's life usually.
You have your family to worry about and everything else. It's a big, big purchase. And there's so much information out there. And the biggest fear for me, if I was a customer walking in for the first time, is I don't want to make a mistake here. Because after I sign that, that's it. So,
48-hour return policy.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Right.
We do.
But you know what I mean? You're signing more paperwork than you're going to sign absent going out.
Especially in the state of New York. The state of New York is they want paperless and everything's still paper.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. So Brian, another issue that always happens: customer gets down to it. They love the car, their price. We're going back and forth. We're really trying to figure out the price. The manager's going above and beyond. The customers meet in the middle. What happens there? How are we getting there to make the customer happy? Whether it's add them more on their trade, or get them approved to get them a different rate, or give us a little breakdown of that when we're not agreeing on price and not agreeing on payment. What are we doing there to go above and beyond?
We do whatever we can.
Yeah.
We really do. I mean, again, it goes back to the investigative process. Like, some customers are going to value certain things differently. Sometimes it's like, hey, what's the total amount that I'm financing here because I'm going to pay this car off in the next year? That's really the most important thing. Other people might care more about, what's my monthly payment. So we have to figure out what the goals of the customer are so that we can make sure that what we're doing is helping them the best that we can.
Yeah. And then we're always willing to, obviously, if the car doesn't work for them, showing them other options.
Yeah.
And also, if something doesn't work out, I've realized that you do very well when you talk to customers. If something doesn't work out, we're informing and teaching not teaching, but showing the customer where the differences are, and be like, hey, maybe come back in 2 or 3 months and it works. It makes more sense. You'll have a little more equity in your trade, or whatever it is. We're giving them the right knowledge so they could use for their own benefit, make the right educated decision for them.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's a big purchase.
The two biggest compliments that I get, or the most common ones that I get for somebody who's come here and purchased a car from us when they were shopping somewhere else, is like education. Yeah. I went to another Kia dealership, or I was at another dealership down the road that wasn't Kia, whatever the case may be. Nobody went over the car with me the way that you guys did. Nobody explained these features to me the way that you guys did. And secondly is, nobody explained to me that how this works. Whether it be the financing part of it, the leasing part of it, nobody actually took the time to go through this with me. They just said, this is the car, here's the number, do you want to take this car home today or not? And unfortunately, I think that's the average experience the customer gets with dealing with car dealerships.
Yeah, and another thing to point out too is, I think a lot of people notice at the Healey facilities, we all work as one unit. Mm-hmm. Like, you have the separate departments, you have finance, then you have this. Yeah, they're called separate departments, but they work as one unit. They're always all talking, they're communicating, and they're meeting the customer needs. Whether it's, hey, let's get this customer wants to get out of here in an hour. Hey, this customer wants to take more time with the vehicle. Let's review it. We give them that time. The car has to get cleaned faster, whatever it is. All our prep from service to finance and sales, it's all working as one unit, always helping, because we need to meet that customer where they want to be. It's no longer on our terms. We have to meet them and give them the best customer experience, because we want them to come back and be part of our family for life. That's the whole thing, is being a customer for life, not always getting new customers. But
yeah, and I think with you saying customer for life,
I say it a lot.
Yeah, but I think that's a good way to segue into service, right?
You actually talk about that. You say I say it a lot too. No, what did you say I say a lot too? When the guy was talking about today?
Oh, I forget.
Oh, customer-centric.
Customer-centric.
Yeah, I use that terminology. But I'm all about the customer. I mean, if Jeff Bezos believes in everything's about the customer, he did something right in his life. People should take some notes.
Definitely did something right, that's for sure. But so segue into service now, right? Because what is Dylan's phrase? The front of the house sells the first car, the back of the house sells the rest. I think that's what
sells the rest, yeah.
I think Dylan has said.
I have that quote memorized for this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I did, because it was so good.
Dill says it a lot.
Yeah, I was.
Where did he got that from? NADA.
At some point.
No, I think he says he got it from Dwight.
My dad, we must have got it from NADA or 20 Group, because I think it's NADA. But yeah, it's. I'll let Brian take it, but it's so true how important that service department is. People forget about it. Like I said, we just had that meeting today with the outside company. Yeah. And it's so important, and we're trying to make it better for the customer. Literally, that's why we're about to hire a company to make it even better than it already is. So. And
again, the entire point of that meeting is how to make the experience better.
Yeah. Literally, that's all it was. It wasn't like we were doing anything wrong. It's like, hey, how can we fine-tune little things to make their overall experience easier, better communication than it already is there. So.
And if you, I mentioned in the meeting this morning, I said, if you look at any of our reviews where customers, how much they love buying cars from here or sourcing their vehicles, the one thing you're never going to see is, well, not that it doesn't happen, I'm probably saying it's wrongly, but it's more important what the experience is almost than the price of what it is that they're doing. Because, it's really easy to sell a car. It's really easy to get somebody to say, hey, this is a car, this is a great price on it. But then down the road, do they still care about the customer?
That's also they're in a happy place when they're buying a car. Usually. So
and when they and then
unless if it's not maintenance, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, well, on the maintenance side, you want to make sure that your turnaround time is quick. They're doing what they said they're going to do. It's being done when they said it's going to be done. But then on the actual repair order side of it, when there's something actually went wrong with your car, it's very serious. You need to make sure that that's how you get to work. That's how you get to your doctor's appointments. How you get your kids to school. And you're out of that car. That's a big deal.
It's detrimental. It could really throw back. So let's start with a customer pulls in the drive. What's our process here? And we actually talked about fine tuning, making it better today. But what's our process here? It's a good process, but we're going to make it even better.
Yeah. So you're gonna meet one of the porters who are gonna they're gonna pull in. Maybe meet our nice Larry or whoever else is down there is gonna take the keys from you. Then you're gonna
Larry.
Yeah, you can't say enough good things about Larry.
He's the best.
He said to me the other day, he goes, you got to hire another porter. You hire another porter. And I said, Larry, the problem is you set the bar too high.
Yeah, he's just.
I got to find another one of you.
He's the best.
So anyway, so from there you're gonna go and talk to the service advisor, and they're gonna, if your appointment's for an oil change or whatever the case is, they're gonna still ask you more questions. How's everything going with the car? Are there any other concerns you want us to look at today? And we're gonna address whatever the customer needs us to address that day.
Yep. Yeah. And then obviously we're setting expectations. Hey, this
time?
is one thing we're gonna get. How much time? We're gonna reach out to you. That's one thing we're really trying to get better at. We do a good job, but hey, let's set a better expectation, not be so vague, and give the customer better. Hey, also if they want to text, let's remember they want to text instead of because people are at work or email.
Yeah.
So just those fine-tuned little things to set a better experience, because like sometimes when I'm in a meeting, someone keeps calling me, send me an email, or if it's emergency, send me a text, say, hey, I need to talk to you now, kind of a thing. So those things we're trying to fine-tune better instead of calling that person. Maybe just shoot them a text like, hey, are you available to talk, or something like that. So
now, obviously, it depends on the situation on if they wait or if they're in the waiting room. What's the step after they meet with the service advisor? Because obviously, I can think about like the expectations, like keeping them informed while they're in the waiting room, or keeping them informed. So what is that next step like after they leave the service advisor? Yep. What happens after that?
Well, probably really important part is the service shuttle, right? So you may be dropping your car off and get a ride to work that day. Sometimes it might even be from me. If the service star's out dropping somebody off, I might bring you to work myself.
Brian's got a new bus, so he can fit a lot of people in there.
Yeah, so it depends. So, you might want to wait for your car to be done. Maybe you got other things to do. We'll take you where you have to go. But then your car's gonna get back in the service department. One of our technicians is gonna be going over the car. We'll address whatever it is you need for us to address that day. But if we do find anything else in the process that maybe you weren't aware of, we're gonna send you a video of your car that's going to go through. So you're not just going to be told, hey, you have an oil leak. You're going to get a video of the technician saying, hey, look, this is the oil leak. This is where it's coming from. Or if you need brakes, hey, look, here's your brakes. Here's where they're measuring. You're going to get a detailed video inspection of your car so we can go over with you. Basically, it's almost like you're sitting there with the technician going over the car with you.
Yeah. And we're literally showing everything. So we're like, and we'll tell you like, hey, you have this here, but by the next service, I think we're going to have to repair it. You could wait on it now if you really need to. And we're labeling things that, hey, this is severe. Let's take care of this today. And like, hey, you could wait a few months. Let's check it out in your next service if it gets worse. Kind of like a doctor's office, like.
Yeah.
So
that sets the expectation, which overall, I think probably the most important thing you can do is set proper expectations, whether it's in the sales department or whether it's in the service department, so that the customers know what to anticipate. One of the trainers always says, expectation management is frustration management.
Yep.
The end result is almost not as important as what is it. Does the end result match what we said it was going to be? And when you leave here and you're being told, hey, your tires, they're okay, but they're getting there. Then the next time you come in, you might need tires. You're not just going to be hit with it. Hey,
everything's stored, all the data's stored too.
Yeah,
so.
Yep.
Yeah.
So obviously after that, there's not much left in the process. Once they get that message from the technician or whoever technically sends it to them with the video of their car, from there it's just reaching back out when their car is done.
Yeah,
so I know
we're giving them a health report on their car.
Yeah. So there's not much after that, but
well, they're gonna have some 5-star coffee and some snacks. That's what should make.
So you were talking about like expectations. So what measures are actually in place to handle the transparency, the communication, to make sure those expectations are actually taken care of? Like, what are the
the video part probably got a little bit ahead there, because that's probably the most transparent thing we can possibly do.
Also, we're being measured. Sorry, we're being measured by Kia, and obviously our reviews all. I mean, you could talk more about that, but it's a serious review process.
Yeah. The review you get from Kia to fill out for the service department goes through every step. How long did you wait for your car? Was your car delivered back to you as clean as when you dropped it off? Was the car done when they promised it was going to be done? There's so many different questions. They go through every step of the process to make sure that we're meeting what we're supposed to meet.
And Kia asks the customers these questions?
They send a survey to every single customer after the car's dropped off, and the customers fill that survey out, and if there's any point at which we fell short, you're going to get a call from one of the managers to go over, hey, what happened? Let's talk about what to make sure we don't.
And we're fixing. We're not letting anyone go. Like same with Google reviews. We're on top of every single one, and our Google rating is 4.6. So you could say what our KS. It's called KSI at Kia. What is it? It's phenomenal right now. Right?
We hover in the mid 900s.
Yeah, mid 900s out of 1,000. So that's like top scores in the nation, and we have some good volume here. We're taking 35 to 45 appointments a day at this facility, and it's one of the smaller service facilities.
Yeah.
So everyone has a different process with this, and it's about how you guys like schedule appointments to minimize wait times, right? So obviously some people figure it out about whether you're having an oil change done or a major job, depends on what time of day you schedule that out and whatnot. So how do you guys handle that when it comes to scheduling to like?
So there's two different things that
I don't want to use the word priority, but like someone who's getting an oil change.
We're setting expectations because we want to have enough time for these guys to work on certain things because we don't know.
We don't want you to wait too long for your car. So generally what we do is we just divide that. We'll say, okay, we can do this many appointments a day, whether it's depending on what the staff we have. They typically we're hovering around 40 to 45 appointments a day. And we say, okay, well 75% of the appointments can be maintenance related stuff, and then the other 25 can be for more bigger jobs. That way you're not waiting forever when you're coming to get your oil changed, and we make sure we have the proper number of staff to handle what's going on. The other side of wait times though too is it's not just how long am I going to be waiting for my car to get done while it's here. It's also how long am I, let's say you have an a transmission issue or God forbid something else, how long am I going to wait to get an answer on what's going on with my car? What's wrong with it? What are the steps that are going to be taken to fix it? That's a big part of it too. And if you're bombarding with too much work into your service department, it may take too long for them to get to what your issue is.
And that just drives down customer experience big time. So
yeah,
it's a healthy mix. Like we'll take in customers it's emergency, we'll take them in. We're not going to say no to them because we want to try to help every single person we can in a timely fashion. So,
but if your car is here in our service department and you're having an issue with it, somebody's going to touch it and look at it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I guarantee. That doesn't mean am I going to have it fixed in 24 hours? Maybe not. I don't know what's wrong with it, but I need to make sure that somebody's touched that car, looked at it, got at least some general idea of what's going on with it within those 24 hours. Because again, this is how the person gets to work. This is how they get to the doctors. We said a couple times before already, but it's really, really important to have that communication of what's going on. That hey, we looked at it. These are the next steps. This is what we're doing with it. So at least you have some understanding of when it may be resolved.
Okay. Yeah. That's a pretty simple analogy, though, with deciding 75%, 25% to make a split. It's a pretty simple analogy. Yeah. So now, when it falls into like, do you then push off like a larger job for someone to drop off a day later? Like, let's say if you already hit the 25% mark, like how do you handle that then? You know what I mean? Oh, that was my phone.
It honestly doesn't become that much of an issue. The way we have it structured out works pretty well. We don't generally have a big issue with larger repairs taking longer than they should, other than there's a part on back order or something like that that's out of our control. If we can get COVID was a fun time, but no, we have our hands around it pretty good. There's a big issue on with your car, it's going to get solved. Even with like those, we're doing 40, 45 appointments a day. We leave gaps in the schedule too to fill in extra capacity. Because we get walk-ins, somebody's car gets towed in. There's things that happen that we can't possibly prepare for or have fit into a schedule. So we have gaps in the day to fill in some of that extra stuff. Yeah. And if there isn't a tow-in or a walk-in that day, then we have the time to take care of those repairs.
And also our BDC is instructed very well. Like they go over it. They're always in contact with Colin as well. But that service crew at our business development center is very good with scheduling. They can handle, they've been around a long time, the two managers there do a really good job handling customers and setting the expectations for these guys, and it makes it definitely a lot easier on scheduling for sure.
Yeah, and any questions they have, it's really easy to get hold of somebody who can take care of it for them. Yeah.
Okay. This whole next section is now almost pointless because I think all these questions kind of got answered already. So we can pretty much skip that unless Jay wants to try and like retouch on any of them, but pretty much all of them were already.
At the end of the day, like the store, we're always trying to set the expectations higher. We want to be the best customer-centric dealer group around. And we pride ourselves on it. We're training constantly. We're meeting with other third parties to fine-tune our processes, hiring the best people. That's like one of the most important things. We don't hire just any person. You have to be the best to work here. So that puts a lot of confidence in our customers coming here because we have the best techs, we have the best advisors, we have the best managers. And then we put these processes in place. We're always monitoring everything. We don't let anything go. We handle issues right at the time. So at the end of the day, the customer process and expectations here are way high, so high that it's a no-brainer for customers to give us a try. So, and it's always adapting and always growing. That's all I could say is it's never going to stay steady. It's always going to get better.
Yeah, I may have said a little earlier, the bar of car dealerships is kind of low in terms of customer experience. We cannot compare ourselves to what the rest of the industry does. We have to just keep working on ourselves and getting better every day.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.